Hello, I'm John Milan, Chief Meteorologist at WTMJ4 in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and a Vietnam veteran. I have the honor and the privilege to host this show, a special show called Stories from the Greatest Generation. And it's actually a great conversation with 5 World War II veterans.
I was drafted because I was called up in the last semester of high school, and I wanted to finish high school because I knew if I wouldn't have finished, I probably would have never gone back, and so that's why I was drafted.
Okay, so we have one draftee. How about you, Marge?
I enlisted.
You enlisted. It was a bad time, wasn't it?
Well, I graduated from nurses training in January 1944, and all the nurses I knew were going in the Army, and all the men were gone anyway, so I enlisted.
Well, now that's a smart lady right there. Gene, how about you? Enlisted or drafted?
I went to a small high school down in Elko, Wisconsin, and I graduated there. We got mail from Uncle Sam, said he'd like to see us in his party.
I was in this farmhouse with these big stone buildings like the old farmhouses were built years ago, and along came this German tank, and he shot through the bottom. While I was upstairs on the lookout, and he shot on the first floor, and I flew from the floor to the ceiling from the impact back to that, and so finally we just had to pack up. We had the weather was so bad. We didn't have any air support. We didn't have any tanks or anything to back us up, and the whole company had a fallout. And the two companies, K&L company, were on the right flank were captured. We were the POW packages from the Red Cross. Most of them were stolen,
Sure.
and so it was the survival of the fittest. And of those two companies of men, you could count the guys on their hands that survived. I'm just fortunate that I survived, and
Well, Joe, we're very glad that you did. Give Joe a round of applause. He went through absolute hell.
When I was in France, I was stationed on that replacement depot as a clerk, but I lived in a hotel that was served by German PWs. And being German, it was like being home with German cooking.
Mm-hmm.
But I was in the motor pool, and I had a Jeep with a German car body welded on it. And we had dances, and I was able to use my Jeep to go pick up girls for the dance and take them home at night. So I had probably the best time ever.
I worked on this floor in the 199th General, and most of the patients were ambulatory. They could take care of themselves. The one I remember is one who walked around the ward wearing a bathrobe and walking on a crutch. And he'd stop by every bed and pretend he was a doctor. And he stopped in front of this one person and he said, "You look awful." He said, my grandfather died when he was 105, and he looked better than you do right now.
Oh my goodness. I learned things and I applied them, and I think I got I was stronger than I was when I left for the war.
So in some respects, it was better. It did a better thing.
Yeah.
It shaped your future
You
in a positive way.
you have to be positive. That's the main thing.
I had a small amount of problems. It's something that happens to you that you don't know it's really happening. It's your own inner feeling after you've gotten so far, and these things happen day after day, and it gets so you think about it and you think you're afraid, but you shouldn't be afraid. You don't sleep. You got one thing on your mind all the time is what's happening. There's something happening. Your pulse rate and things rise up, and at night you'll dream. It was worse, but it's something that crawls on you at a time that you don't know what's happening. But most of it is around fear. Your fear that this is going to happen and that's going to happen, and everything bothers you. You're just you're a bundle of nerves.
One guy, before we to go on a flight, he went berserk,
Wow.
and I had to pin him down and had to ship him back to the States because he went berserk.
When I was in this replacement depot as a clerk, I was processing soldiers that were coming off the Battle of the Bulge, and any little noise, they would just jump, and then they also said, you know, how it bothered them, and other ones that they said they didn't have shoes for that, and they all had frostbitten hands and feet, and I saw what happened at that time.
What kept you going?
Okay, what kept us going is when they brought in American prisoners, we knew how far the troops were away from where we were. And as they got closer and closer, our morale got higher and higher. And that was when the day of liberation came, it didn't come fast enough. So.
Wow. Marge, do you have an answer to that one?
Well, what kept me going was at the 199th General, I was the second best female ping pong player. And we did that after duty, and every night there would be different units come in the area, and they would come over and ask for some women to come to their parties, and that kept me going. I said to a person lately, I went to a lot of parties, and he said, well, somebody had to do it.
Hey, Gene, how about you? What kept you going in the Pacific Theater?
Well, we were sort of what's called island hopping. The South Pacific, of course, was nothing but a bunch of small islands, some bigger and some smaller. And every time you'd go out, you'd assault and win one of those islands. It cost a few lives, but each time we were closer to Japan. And we think that one of these times the Japanese are going to throw in their arms and the war will be over.
I want to thank you all for taking time to come out here and tell your stories to the public. And I want to thank you for your service. And you guys are all five of you are superheroes to all of us in this room. And we applaud you.